People will feel the ramifications of this mentally and physically for months and months and months.
A drought comes slowly, you can manage it. This was like a tsunami.
There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. It's just pretty hard to see it.
What are you going to do with all the dead cattle? Although the floodwaters in the Julia Creek region here went down over a week ago, the recovery has barely got underway. More isolated properties remain cut off, and even graziers living closer to town can't get to all the surviving cattle on their property because the ground is still too wet, and it will take months before they know the full extent of their stock losses.
I think the biggest shock was in the middle of it when you just saw how much water there was, and as it goes down now, you just look at the devastation and what's left behind.
Dudley Harrington and his wife Thea are rebuilding their lives. The size of the job ahead is almost beyond their comprehension. Do you often wonder where you're going to start?
Yes. I've got no idea. But we're starting where it's dry enough, and we're just going to keep going until it's done, I guess. I'm not really sure when it will end, but you've got to start somewhere and just work away at it.
Just over a week ago, the floodwaters nearly came to the top of this water tank. The ground has finally dried out enough to start repairing the damage.
Look at the brown floodwater still there in the trough.
No, sometimes you wonder where your life's gone so wrong that you've ended up in this position, but it's part of life up here. We've had floods before and we'll have floods again. We just haven't had too many this big and this devastating.
The Harringtons don't want to put a figure on how many cattle they've lost.
I haven't bothered counting what's still alive or what's dead because it is what it is, and counting's not going to change that.
But one day you'll have to do that, won't you?
I will, yeah.
I guess you're not looking forward to that.
No, look, you got to look ahead and be positive.
I think the initial shock was definitely hit us hard, but I think people will feel the ramifications of this mentally and physically for months and months and months.
The pain being felt by graziers is spreading to businesses in the nearby town of Julia Creek.
It'll be a ripple effect on everything. We're predominantly here for the town sort of around, initially was graziers, and without the graziers the town would struggle full stop.
Everyone's either got, a friend or a family member who either is in the cattle industry, is part of the cattle industry. So we are probably one big family, and we're just at different tiers as to, where the financial situation hits.
Hardware owners Karina and Michael Leake extended credit to graziers through years of drought and will now have to wait even longer to settle accounts.
I'm trying not to dwell on the negatives. I'm looking to these are my friends, my family, wider community. We're looking forward to support them, and we're hoping they get the support because they all want to pay us. It's not like they don't want to pay us, and they all want to support us. So I'm sure we'll be right. I keep telling myself that, yeah.
The Leakes have cattle of their own. They think they've lost half their herd in the floods and are making sure those that survived make it through the summer. Why are you feeding the cattle hay?
It's been a week. It's been 5 days since it's finished raining, but there hasn't been a lot of growth in their feed. And I just noticed that our cattle, they're grazing out and getting a good pick, but we need some stomach fill.
Are they still spooked?
They are spooked. Initially, they were just in little groups here and there, and we were having to go and get them and move them off their little island that they didn't want to move. And they don't really know what you're doing to them at this stage because we've just been through a fair bit of trauma.
One of the really unsettling things about this disaster is that although there is death all around us, the country has seldom looked so good. After 7 years of drought, the paddocks are finally turning green. But this is not the way anyone wanted the drought to break.
Far worse, this flood. A drought comes slowly, you can manage it. You can manage a drought. This was like a tsunami. It was just out of left field. If someone had have rung us up 2 weeks before this event started and told us exactly what was going to happen, we still couldn't have saved any of those cattle. You just can't, there's nowhere to go with them.
Patrick and Edwina Hick estimate they've lost about 6,000 head of cattle, but they did manage to save their horses. Patrick Hick says his cattle station will survive, but he's worried about the wider community.
This district will really suffer. If these grazing businesses pull back into their shell and stop spending, then the whole town will atrophy and will really struggle. So we need to get cattle back in the paddocks. We need to get these businesses going so all the service industries surrounding it continue as well.
There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. It's just pretty hard to see. It's a very dim and distant light at the moment, but I believe with this community we will get there.
In coming weeks, graziers will be confronted with a heartbreaking challenge. What are you going to do with all the dead cattle?
Big job, haven't quite figured it out. Certainly many of them will have to be buried, but it's a huge job. I don't think anyone has really got their head around exactly about how we're going to do it. You've got to go through a bit of shock and grief. We've seen all this dead cattle and we love our animals. That's why we're in this industry. We didn't sit down and figure out that we'll go into this industry for the money. We do it because we love it, and then you've got to figure out a way to make a quid out of it while you're there. But we love our animals and it kills us to see them.
The Harringtons know there's hard work ahead, and amidst the gloom, there are some positives. The green shoots a sign that recovery is possible.
Yeah, I try to stay positive. Otherwise, I think you'd give up. And I'll be excited to see with what we've got to work with, and that's all you can do. It's not going to do me any good. Counting the losses, I think I just got to be grateful for what we've come out with and go forward with that and work with what I've got.